Today we find ourselves in between two systems. We have high pressure off to our east, low pressure off to our west, and that low pressure area is going to creep in closer as we go throughout the day today, but it's moving very, very slowly. And also as we go into tomorrow, it is still trying to get closer to us, but still off to our south and west, bringing some rain into parts of southwestern Minnesota. As we go into tomorrow evening, we see it trying to connect with the storm system up north in Canada with a frontal boundary forming in between these two. That's then going to move into our area as we go into Sunday morning. As of right now, it really depends on how well those two storm systems can connect to see if they can bring in a decent amount of moisture into our area. As we go throughout the day today, we'll see increasing cloud cover this afternoon with the storm system approaching from the west, but we should remain dry. So going to tomorrow morning, still most of us should be dry with maybe just a few sprinkles down in our southern areas, and then the better chance for some rain, especially out west, will appear as we go into tomorrow afternoon and into the early evening as well. Maybe even a few thunderstorms possible in our far western areas. But then that moisture really starts to move into the area as you go into tomorrow night and tomorrow morning, with widespread rain possible, especially across Minnesota at first, but also spreading into Wisconsin as we go into the morning hours on Sunday. Maybe even some heavy rain possible in some locations. No severe weather is expected, but maybe a few rumbles of thunder are possible as well. Also note how the wind on the Minnesota side is changing, definitely to the north and picking up a little bit as well, 10 to 15 miles per hour behind that frontal boundary. So it could be a little bit breezy for some locations during the day on Sunday as well. But Minnesota is also starting to dry out as we go further on into the day on Sunday. Still raining as we go into Sunday evening in Wisconsin. It will take us well into the overnight for our far eastern areas to then also start to dry out as the rain moves on further off to the east. So how much rain are we talking? Looks like most of our rain is going to fall to the south, with maybe some locations picking up around 2 or 2.5 inches in Wisconsin. Less rain in Minnesota, but as I mentioned, there is still some uncertainty with how well these storm systems are going to combine to bring in a decent amount of moisture. So take these numbers with a grain of salt, because a lot of can still change in that forecast. Temperature-wise today, very seasonable temperatures. Cooler around the lake because we have a little bit of a lake breeze. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Highs mainly in the 70s for Minnesota, some lower 80s down to the south as well. As we go into the overnight tonight, mid-50s to the north, 60s, and some upper 60s down in our southern areas. And as we go into the day tomorrow, very similar to what we're seeing today, still a lake breeze around Lake Superior, a little bit warmer away from the lake. Very seasonable once again, with highs mainly in the mid to upper 70s. And as we go into the day on Sunday, very interesting. We can clearly see where that heavier rain is falling, where most of our Wisconsin areas and also eastern Minnesota will really struggle to get into the upper 60s with all that rain and the cloud cover. A little bit warmer in northwestern Minnesota, where we could see a few more drier periods and maybe even some sunshine as we go into Sunday afternoon. Plenty of sunshine for most of the area right now as well. Just a few clouds popping up here and there in some of our locations. Temperature-wise, much more comfortable than yesterday, some upper 70s and lower 80s. And especially here by the head of the lake, it is much cooler than yesterday, 15 degrees cooler than 24 hours ago here by the Twin Ports. The main culprit is that lake breeze, as I mentioned, coming off Lake Superior, even a little bit breezy for some areas, 14 or 15 miles per hour here by the head of the lake. So it's bringing in some cooler air because the lake has warmed up quite a bit over the past few weeks, but it's still chilly enough with temperatures mainly surface temperatures mainly into the mid to upper 60s. So yeah, whenever that wind comes off the lake, it will definitely cool us down here quite a bit. As we go into the day tomorrow, we see the warmer temperatures to the south and east in parts of Wisconsin, with highs still in the mid to upper 80s. Much cooler to the south and west, southwestern Wisconsin, as that rain, Minnesota, excuse me, when that rain is moving into the area with that storm system approaching from the south and west. 70s also for us here to the north, with maybe a few 80s down to the south. The cabin cast is not looking too good for this weekend. Tomorrow, seasonable temperatures, mostly dry, but as we go into Sunday, a much better chance for some widespread precipitation and also cooler temperatures with highs only in the low to mid 70s, maybe even a little bit cooler in our Wisconsin areas, especially with some more persistent rain. As we go into next week, temperatures will rebound into the mid 70s for highs, looking mostly dry and mostly sunny, but there's a small chance for some rain on Wednesday.